normal is families, trying to figure life out and making something beautiful out of the broken mess that we have and letting things go and finding more joy in compassion for others and serving others and creating your own uniqueness. And that's where you find the true joy and meaning of the holidays.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Polaris Connection, your podcast that connects parents of autistic children with industry experts and proven results. I am your host, Brad Broyles, and I'm here with my holiday cheermeister co-host, Nathan Palmer.
May your day be merry and bright. I'm just glad to be here, Brad.
I love this season. The holiday season always excites me. I love the Christmas lights. I like all the fun, the activities are out there.
And thank you for calling it a season, because there are the naysayers out there that go, one day of the year is not worth all this, effort. And it's not about the day. It is about the season, and it comes with all the wonderful things in between.
Well, let me ask you, when do you put your Christmas tree up? Are you a post-Thanksgiving person, or are you a pre-Thanksgiving
We are
person?
We are a post, right? We haven't adopted the holiday tree yet,
Okay.
right? But because I do like Thanksgiving. It is its own season. But it then changes into really quickly the Christmas holiday season.
Yeah,
So.
and I love the Halloween, Thanksgiving, the holiday season. My holiday tree, it goes up right after Halloween, man. Like, we love it. We love it. Well, we're here with a very special guest, Kelly Willis, who is the Community Outreach Director for Shine Bright Behavioral Health.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, Kelly, and we're excited to have you too. You have a very unique background in holiday seasons, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But before we do, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get to Arizona? There's always a migrate story to Arizona.
Absolutely. I was looking for a new adventure. My siblings had moved out here before I did. My sister had moved up to Prescott to follow her husband. My brother went to ASU. And I kind of went on the journey with my kiddos to Arizona to see what adventure might be out here for me. And my daughter was in kindergarten. My son was in third grade. And that landed me here in Arizona. Driving around, I found Anthem, and it was just this really cool community. So
That's neat. Where'd you move from?
I moved from kind of Inland Empire area of California. So it was called Redlands, California, near San Bernardino, and kind of right smack in the middle of the state.
Middle of the state, over to
Yes.
Arizona. And then when you moved, you first moved to Anthem, and you're still living there now,
Yes.
is that right?
Yep.
Awesome. And then what attracted your family to Arizona? Why Anthem? And what mostly brought you here?
What attracted me was obviously my siblings. I loved family. I was kind of going through a transition in my own life and wanted to be closer to support and family, so that brought me there. I started driving around Arizona. I was actually in marketing at the time and creating packaging for some companies. Got lost on all of Arizona streets going one way. And I was like,
Nothing turns.
Nothing turns. I'm in downtown crying on the side of the road going, I am going the wrong way yet again in this lovely state. And then I started driving up north towards my sister, and Anthem community was just being built at the time, and it looked like Mayberry. I was like, oh, I could totally live on Freedom Way. This is great. And it offered just some really great family activities with their community park and their pools and water slides and all of those cool things. And I was like, I can pretty much walk to anything that I would enjoy with my family. And so started looking for homes and found a rental and planted myself right there.
I know. The only problem about Anthem is they have that outlet center up there. And man, you can spend a lot of money there.
Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory.
Oh, for sure. Good shopping up there.
We love it. Well, that's neat. Now, tell us a little bit about Shine Bright Behavioral Health. How did you get involved with them? Tell us a little bit more about your organization.
Shine Bright Behavioral Health is a new ABA company here in Arizona. They have a sister company that is throughout the United States, and I saw this opportunity. I've been in early education for most of my career, and throughout that kind of process, so many parents had questions or came and in the roles that I've had, asking for help and support. So it kind of flowed naturally with my background and my personal history, helping parents. And I got to this point in my career where I had one parent in particular who was just desperate for help. And I thought, I really have a passion for doing this. Mm-hmm. So I started looking for roles that may intertwine with my background. And Shine Bright's mission and their purpose for supporting families and providing compassionate care in a really timely manner really struck a chord with me. Throughout my journey, I journaled a lot with my own kiddos that are on the spectrum. And one thing that kept repeating in my journal was the lack of supports or the wait lists or feeling like I was on an island and disconnected. And Shine Bright's mission is to connect families with services in a timely manner and with just a focus on wrapping around the whole family.
Wow, I love that. I see the joy that it brings you.
Yes.
And it seems to gives you a lot of purpose.
And I love how you use the word, like I'm making this connection, and apologize for like the veer off in left field here, but you talked about journaling, and it's funny because a lot of times we talk about this autism journey. Mm-hmm. And I love how comparable the word journey is to journal, because it really is a story, and everybody's got their own unique story about what brings them here, where we're going. I never kind of tied those two together, but the journal, the journey, it all is about the shared story. And I'm just glad that it keeps growing and growing amongst all these branches that we find. So, and I think even you have a unique story. We came across you at a local event, ESA Connections, and
Yes.
I think you were introduced to our marketing director, right?
Absolutely,
Dallin Davis,
yes.
and you met her and she fell in love with you right away.
Well, thanks. Dallin was amazing. Just the options that parents have now is so amazing and incredible, and what you guys are doing for families, giving them an amazing education experience was something I longed for as a parent, and it immediately drew me. And then Dallin's just super welcoming, and it's great to see what you guys are expanding in the realm of supports for families.
Well, thank you. And so today's episode is about holiday season traditions and some advice and some tips and tricks that we can give to our audience. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about your journey journal of your family with autism. You said
Yes.
you have a child on the spectrum. Tell us about that experience and how that all happened.
I have 3 kiddos on the spectrum.
Oh.
I am a mom of 6, and our journey has taken us through some hills and valleys. And I was a kindergarten teacher at the time. So when I came to Anthem, I started working for a school district as a kindergarten specials teacher, and quickly kind of transitioned into community engagement for the district. And along that journey, this little blonde-haired, blue-eyed kiddo came into my class, and my heart just melted. He came in one day with a picture and showed 2 houses, and one set of kiddos was on one side, one set of kiddos was on the other, and he was really distraught. And I just asked him, hey, share with me about your picture. And he said, well, this is me and my brother in one house and my sisters in another. My heart immediately melted. And it took me on a journey for foster care and adoption. So I ended up bringing his siblings back together and under our home with my 2 biological children. And we got to this amazing journey of adoption and adopted these 3 kiddos in the family group, my 2 sons and daughter. And along that journey, we went down the path of just trying to support their needs. And many years later and many misdiagnoses later, found ourselves in the autism spectrum world. And I quickly became an advocate for getting them the right care and supports. So that's kind of my journey to autism.
Bless you. You know, it's funny because we've connected with different groups involved with fostering a care. And I don't think we can really appreciate and acknowledge enough those that go out of their way to care for and help to pave a path for these. So again, my hat's off to your journaling, your journey, your support, and just your compassion to be able to jump in head first to a world that, for many of us is hard, and for bringing this unique perspective to it. And I can't wait to hear more about. I heard something about some different traditions that you brought to your family. Yes. This journey in autism is full of twists and turns, and it's Christmas, it's the holiday season, and why not add some more twists and turns to that season as well? So tell us, what was that? What is it that brought you to us? Because it's that story, I think, as I understand it, that created this idea for this Christmas non-traditional episode.
Right.
Yeah. So along my journey, it came with what I would express as the grief of the norm. I just, I had my biological children. They were in, like I said, kinder and third grade. So roughly first and fourth, once we started this journey with some new traditions of our life. And it was, I had in my mind what we could do, and dressed everybody up and all the same matching outfits, and everybody got Christmas pajamas, and everybody was just going to fall in love with this as much as we did. Mm-hmm. And we started to really quickly understand that the expectations to be social media perfect, or even the traditions that we had previously with our families, were going to need to alter a little. And we didn't know how that altering was going to take place. It seemed to always be some type of transition. And we learned to be okay in the midst of change and transition. And it didn't have to be what the rest of the world's normal was.
Okay. So tell us, what does Christmas look like in your home? What does that non-traditional tradition look like?
And a little bit more of the journey of how that happened. Like, I'm more intrigued with that. So
the journey happened. We wanted to make sure that everyone felt valued and loved the same. So my first Christmas, I remember buying everybody the same kind of toys, the same kind of outfits, the same kind of everything. And some of my kids really enjoyed those things, and my others did not at all. They were breaking the heads off of Barbie, and I was like, but wait a minute. I assumed that this would be, they would want the same things. And I really quickly learned about preferred items. And what some of my kids enjoyed, it was either too much for my other kiddos. And so I started to slowly transition into asking very pointed questions. So I started a Christmas list. It was something you want, something you need, something you wear, something you read. And they would fill out those lists, and we would go over them, and we'd all write our kind of notes to Santa, and really starting to hone in on what they wanted, what they felt they needed, what they were enjoying reading. And, I quickly changed my thoughts to asking what their thoughts very intentionally were. And I already started to pick up on some sensory needs. So that's where my first holiday traditions kind of swapped, was definitely finding things that they were interested in and making that the focus of our Christmas holidays, or even just regular holidays and traditions, was focusing on what their communication was to me.
So like, what would be, that's incredible. So you said you found more of their sensory needs. What are some, I guess you went from like, hey, it needs to be like this, everybody gets the same gift. Now we're going to transition to almost to the unique part of them. Tell us some, like, what are some examples of what happened?
So some examples were, we always had a tradition of decorating the tree together, doing different ornaments and things, and wanting everyone to participate. And I quickly learned that participation could look different. Sometimes just sitting on the side and being a cheerleader with a set of Legos was participating in tree decorating. Okay. It didn't mean that we all had to wear the same pajamas, because quickly I learned that sensory needs were different. So we would all dress up in the same PJs and decorate the tree and do all of the memory making that I thought, and I would get a tantrum. And I'm like, this is supposed to be fun. Everybody put on fun. Put your smile on, put your happy on, and jingle all the way. And all of a sudden, I had a meltdown. And I realized quickly that the fun was seeing them enjoy building a Lego. So sometimes I would give them an ask, like, hey, could you build a Lego scene of what we're doing right now?
There you go.
And my kids were like, I love that. Could you build a Lego Christmas tree or an ornament? And giving them that participation filled their bucket. It also filled my bucket. Pajamas didn't have to be the same because itchy material for some.
I was going to ask you, was there some learning process with pajamas?
There was a huge mourning for the all themed pajamas because tags became an issue. Cute socks with toes. My one son could not handle any sock that had threading on the toe line. I'm like, forget it, go barefoot, man. We are all elves without socks. Got it.
I love it. It's funny because you look at some of these posts on social media sometimes, right? And I think back to some of our key, our cute family pictures that have been posted. But I know the backstory of herding the cats, and that was picture 15 to finally get them in the right spot. And you go, oh, look at this wonderful family. Like, no, that took some work. And really what we're talking about is it's okay. You shouldn't have to stress and bend yourself to fit what you think others' picture of Christmas or the holidays should be. You can just be you, and that's okay.
And that is absolutely okay. And it's normal. We think that normal is what we see on social media, and it's not.
Yeah.
Normal is families, trying to figure life out and making something beautiful out of the broken mess that we have and letting things go and finding more joy in compassion for others and serving others and creating your own uniqueness. And that's where you find the true joy and meaning of the holidays.
Well, and Kelly, you mentioned something to where you had this picture perfect idea that you wanted your family to be during the holiday season, but it shifted. It sounds like that was a process that you had to go through. And a lot of families struggle with that, or some people struggle with that. What advice would you give to those that say, hey, it doesn't need to be like you imagined, it can be a little bit different? What advice would you give to those type of people?
The first advice I would give for sure is it's okay to grieve. I had to give myself permission, and I didn't do this for many, many years. I gave myself permission to grieve the ideas that I had, the wants that I had of what I thought things should be like and what I thought normal would be like and what I thought family should look like. I grieved that it wasn't going to be that. And that was a huge piece for me to accept, moving through the process of acceptance and joy and finding that it's okay if we, may not be able to participate in all of the things that I thought we would be able to. And that meant even sometimes like connecting with our other family members. Sometimes that was just too much. And that was a grieving process that I had to go through because my childhood, I grew up very different, and it was all a big family event and activities, and everybody came over and we all bought gifts for one another and were very intentional. And it was okay that we didn't experience it that way that time. And I also had to give myself the opportunity to have hope that we might be able to. So
I love that message though, because what you're saying is it's okay to use grief as a path to joy. Because so what can often be the message is, well, no, let's just find the silver lining. Let's just find a way to make you happy. And we just don't acknowledge the grief as if, no, this is how you should look at it. And this is why you should be happy. And this is why you should just be okay. But what you're saying is, no, it's okay to be upset that it's not what you thought it was going to be. And that maybe is a key thing, letting that grief process instead of carrying it and letting it become this weight that gets bigger and bigger and then drives that blow up of, why can't I have this picture perfect holiday?
Absolutely. And if you don't go through the process, it really can get heavy. This weight gets so heavy, and then resentment comes in. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was have resentment towards this amazing family and this amazing new community that I was building that may not have always included the people that I thought were in my community. But I think that was also the next step through the grief was I had to create a community, and I had to gather people around me in my tribe that understood maybe not exactly the path that I was taking, but was supportive of it.
Sure.
Yes, and that's big to let everybody know. Like, I love that you had to build your community, your tribe, to say, hey, I need your support. So I'm curious, and I know you're not a psychologist, but what is that process of grieving to, you know what I mean? Is it just, you talked about acceptance. I know that's an emotional process. In my mind, I guess when I think about grieving, I think about, because I like to lift, so I'll just go lift my problems away, right? But for you, how does that look? I'm curious.
It was a lot of journaling and self-reflection. It was having friends that were supportive on my journey and not judgmental. So creating people where I could go and fall apart, but that they wouldn't leave me falling apart. They made sure to intentionally build me back up. It was okay to not be okay, but we're not going to leave you that way.
Okay.
And that was huge in my personal grief journey. It did mean sometimes getting in my car and just crying. And that was okay for me because I needed to release that and not carry it. And sometimes for me, it was just this mega release. And sometimes it was doing the holiday traditions that did mean something to me and getting those that wanted to be involved. Like, you know, I always had at least one or two helpers in for the day. It might not be every day and it might not always be the same, but it was okay to still celebrate things that meant something to me and those traditions. And it didn't always have to mean that I had to have everybody included. But making sure that I was still intentional on, you know, filling my bucket in these times while I was filling everyone else's.
I love what you keep talking about the journey, and you know, maybe it was good fortune we talked about this idea of journaling and journey early on, right? But that what you're describing is really moving through a process. I remember, and listen, there's probably lots of conventions, but like the grief process, I was always taught with the acronym DABDA or DABDA, and it's denial and anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. And those can sometimes interchange in the order, and sometimes some last longer than the others, but they're all stages of things we go through before we accept something that is unexpected, right? First, no, that's not me. We can still do it this way. And then it's anger, but why can't I have this? Bargaining, well, maybe if I do it this way, and we're still trying to fit the square peg in the round hole, and then it's not fitting, and then we're really depressed. And sometimes we get stuck in these stages and we just go, well, then it's just not for me. And we, rather than pushing through, like you said, letting it process, being okay to grieve, to get to that acceptance and joy, sometimes we just redirect and we end up carrying this baggage unintentionally, and we just end up empty and unsatisfied and wondering, why can't I have this picture perfect life?
So it's not, you just can't eat your problems away. Like, don't you remember that on Austin Powers? I'm happy, I'm unhappy because I eat, and I eat because I'm unhappy.
That'd be the bargaining. Maybe the ice cream will make me feel better, right? We're looking for alternatives. And I find myself, you know, sitting here because I can remember holidays, and whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween, where we see these other families with their traditions, and we ask ourselves, what's our tradition? And there's not always a tradition, and maybe that's okay. Yeah. You know, one of my favorite things with Christmas is, what am I getting? Right?
Yes.
What's the reason we wrap presents is because we get to explore, and every Christmas season be surprised at what comes. And maybe that's a tradition. Maybe it's, I wonder what this year's Christmas will look like, and it's okay if it doesn't look like last year's.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the things we learned kind of in that middle school hormonal stage of life, that it was okay to minimize activities, enjoy the peace, and enjoy the quiet that comes too, where it's not all the loud noise, and going to, sometimes it was quiet and we did Christmas lights in the car, and that was plenty. And really, we went through seasons as, a family, and sometimes that season was, like you said, non-traditional, and we didn't do the big holiday dinner, and that was okay. Everybody was very picky on certain foods at certain times of the journey, and it was completely okay to do something different.
Yeah. Well, and Kelly, as we talk, you mentioned a few words like family's really important to you. You can just tell.
Yeah.
And not only family, but big families.
Yes.
Events are important to you, but not events, big events. And that could be hard for some autistic children. So how do you navigate that? Like, what have you had to specifically, shift when you want these big family events and it's loud and everybody's talking and you're excited because you really enjoy that, but you know that maybe your children might struggle with it. So how do you navigate through that?
We planned ahead. I got very strategic. I said my background was in early education, so I really got strategic in planning for my kids' success and being okay if it wasn't successful. I go with
we're
that
going to hit that again and again and again. It's okay. Failure is okay. We literally just finished an episode, and I don't know the order that these air in, but talking about failing forward. And I think that applies to holiday traditions as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the things that I would do is food sensory was a sensory issue sometimes, or even a sensitivity issue on many times. So we would pack meals. It alleviated, I don't like that, I don't want to try that, that smells funny, all of those things that would sometimes happen in the best of intentions of my family members, trying to make all these amazing dishes. They may have not met the needs of the kiddos sometimes, so we packed family meals, and they would be able to have that autonomy of things that they wanted to eat. So we would do that, and I'm like, all right, cool, pack your dinner, and we would make those together. So that would be a success for them. I also created kind of along the journey, not necessarily around holidays, but just in traveling with the kiddos or going to doctor's appointments. I went to the local Walmart, and they had these really cool kid toolboxes. And I would have them set up in my classroom. And one day it dawned on me, why don't I do this for all of the kids? And so I would have this toolbox that would have, we would continuously pour into the kids that they just needed to add tools to their toolbox or their tool belt, that maybe they didn't have the skill yet, maybe they didn't have the right tool yet, but always adding to their toolbox of life would continue their growth. So I got these kid-friendly toolboxes, and they could fill them with things that made them feel safe, made them feel happy. So they would have, one of my kids loved dog toys because they were crinkly, and I'm like, all right, get a dog toy, go for it. Just don't tell them that your mom made you put that in your box. Let's start with that. But they would get something that would have sound and crinkles, or they would throw in their Legos that were their favorite minifigures for the time. And that was their toolbox. So I would whenever you feel overwhelmed or you need just to step away, it is okay. Grab your toolbox and go find a quiet corner somewhere. And we didn't have to have a quiet corner that we would create in a classroom, but I'm like, hey, go build a fort under grandma's table, or, and that's okay. You don't have to be involved in family charades. And,
that's a good word, charades. I'm sitting here reflecting, and I'm thinking about my own journey, and I'm just contemplating a lot of these ideas of traditions and expectations. What should things look like? Come out of what we think others are experiencing. So my childhood growing up, I had a very non-traditional holiday tradition, if you want to call it that. So Christmas for us, we'd go over to my grandma's house and we would have Little Caesars thin crust pizza. That's just what Christmas was. I didn't know it was anything different. And I remember coming back to school after break, and one of the questions, I was second or third grade, my teacher asked, what'd you guys do for Christmas dinner? And people start talking about hams and turkeys and all these big family meal things. And I'm like, hang on, did you ask about Christmas or Thanksgiving? because that's the only big meal we had. She's like, no, Christmas. Like, you guys do that for Christmas? It's pizza. What are you talking about?
Little Caesar pizza.
Yeah, and so the irony is, right, as a kid, I didn't know any different. I loved it. I loved that I had this pizza. And I'm thinking from the adult perspective, they must have loved, they didn't have to prep anything. It was just there. We could spend time with family. But, you know, we worry, or at least we convince ourselves that we're doing this for our kids, right? But really,
Absolutely.
they're happy doing so many things. And if we let them be happy and change the should to could,
Absolutely.
right, then we leave the door open for so many new opportunities rather than what we think people expect we should be doing.
You know, when you share your tradition, Nathan, it makes me think that there's a Little Caesar store somewhere that they're like, okay, we're going to be open for Christmas Eve. Nobody's going to buy pizza on Christmas Eve, except for that one family.
I know. My grandpa would come in the door. He'd be carrying like 10 pizzas. I mean, I'd have one piece of this and one piece of that. It was like Christmas pizza season. We loved it.
Oh, that's amazing. I wish I would have known that back then because they could deliver. And I mean,
We DoorDash it now.
seriously. I mean, no dishes. Put it on a paper towel. That would have been fantastic.
That's awesome. So then, so I'm curious. You come from a large family, and I haven't asked, you know, what their experience with children with autism. How is those conversations with your family to say, hey, Christmas is a little bit different in our home, and when we come together, hey, we need to approach this differently. How was that conversation, and how did you prep your family for it?
My family is really open, and they're caring. We changed and shifted often. Their intent was always to make sure that everybody felt welcomed, and like there was no difference in between kiddos. And it was a little bit challenging at first with behaviors because it was very much like the expectation of when we say no, that means no, or, you know, we're going to be this way at grandma and grandpa's house. And I put my kids sometimes under a lot of pressure that I thought, we act this way. You can act this way at home, but in public, we are going to act like this. And or at the family things, we're going to act like this and make sure, you know, don't break anything in grandma's house. And my family just really we didn't have like a formal sit down conversation. I always was very open in sharing like doctor's appointments and things that were going on and diagnoses that were happening. But 15 years ago, it was just a much different world in the autism world. I mean, it was so misunderstood, and they were very receptive with understanding, you know, the trauma background and that things might not always seem the same. And they just were super supportive and really tried to create an environment where, you know, everybody was loved and welcomed. And even if it looked different and, you know, or felt different, it was okay. And we just had some honest, sometimes tough conversations that, you know, things might get broken in the house, or you might experience this kind of tantrum, and we're working through it, and that's all we can do.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. Yeah, I love that you have such a supporting family, and you talked about building such a supportive tribe. I like how you said that word, tribe, because again, it takes a community to raise a child. Now, you mentioned about, okay, we do, you know, approaches with big family gatherings. When you decorate the Christmas tree, not everybody's going to be in their pajamas helping out, and you're okay with that. That was really important to you. What about like treats, foods that you like, that you do that might be a little bit different than a traditional holiday, you know, food setting?
It's okay if it's chicken nuggets. I mean...
Or pizza.
Or pizza.
From Little Caesar.
From Little Caesar.
Listen, I'm not even on the spectrum, right? It's okay.
It is okay. You know, my kids have a lot of the allergies and gut issues that, you know, sometimes seem to hit the autism community. We were no different. We were gluten-free, dairy-free, at one point egg-free. So we were like, it's a lot of meat and a lot of veggies. And
I had to go egg-free because it was so expensive, man. Eggs were crazy for a while.
For a while, they were really crazy. And rice milk became, you know, our new norm. And gluten-free bread, God bless everyone that has to eat that on a regular basis. But we started, like, we would make French toast out of different things. And that would kind of become the preferred breakfast item. And we changed cookies to be Rice Krispie treats because they were gluten-free. And you could do them in a holiday tree still, or, something fun. We just really got creative. It took some communication with the teachers and making sure that I set them up for success for holiday parties, because they had a lot of treats and parents would, send in things, and I would make sure to like double pack my kiddos because they could eat you out of house and home quickly. So I would make sure that their teachers were set up for success as well, so that the kids could still participate, even though they may not be able to eat all the cool things there. We made sure we baked things that they loved. I also included them in the baking experience, so that even if they didn't like to get their hands messy, they were great cookie cutters. So we would do other things that they enjoyed. And I was also trying to give them life skills for the future. I was always trying to raise my kids for who they could become or would want to become later on in life, and then going backwards.
I think there's a wonderful blessing of your teaching background playing into this. I always joke that autism has made me a better parent because it's taught me how to approach it intentionally. And, I look at a common theme, and it doesn't just apply to special needs kids. I think this is parenting in general. And there is something to be said about us drinking our own Kool-Aid. We want kids to be resilient. We want them to learn how to solve their own problems. Don't complain. What can you do about it? How can you shift and make it better? Well, that applies to us as well. And, if things don't go our way, don't complain. That we tell our kids all the time, you didn't get your way. It's okay. Look at it. Look at the bright side, And what I hear you say over and over is, well, listen to our own lessons. It's okay. Not only is it okay, it is an opportunity to find creativity. It's an opportunity to discover maybe new events and activities that maybe we wouldn't have come across another way. And in spite of all that, the advice is not an effort to avoid the sadness, right? Mm-hmm. Grieve, and that's okay. It's all right to wish you had it differently. And through the end of that process, discover that there's now a new world of creation discovery you can fall into that has its own measure of joy. Mm-hmm. What a wonderful message.
Absolutely.
I love it. And I like how you said earlier that every Christmas, just as we can unwrap a present and we get the excitement of that, every season should be looked at that as well. Like we unwrap the season. I wonder what this season's going to be.
The season itself is our gift, and let's be surprised.
Absolutely. That's a great way.
What are some, holiday activities you guys find most enjoyable that you do with your family?
So,
hang on, did we just ask the non-traditional person what are some typical things you do with your family? Did we just ask that question?
Well, more so like because they become new traditions.
They do. And there's some things that the kids have held on to that are like, are we doing this year?
Yes.
And I was like, absolutely, because we did that once. It's now what we've done. Yeah. So funny thing is you were talking about pizza. Christmas Eve is tacos. And that came from my sister having tacos one time on a Christmas Eve once upon a time ago, and then coming home and saying, are we doing tacos again for Christmas Eve? And my mom was like, what are we talking about? And it is now probably for the past 2 decades been our
Christmas tacos.
That is awesome.
And only mom makes them. So, but that's kind of what has happened. There's some things like they really enjoy a light show. So it's Christmas at the Princess. I don't know why we do the Christmas. That is there. I was like, do you want to try zoo lights? Do you want to try something else? Nope, we're going here. And I said, okay, tickets are bought. We're all heading out. And then we do things, that are a little bit different in the fact that sometimes it's at one family member's house or a different family member's house. So we try to keep some kind of similarities in the activities now that my kids are adults. So at least there's, the norm of this, we're going to all exchange gifts and this kind of a setting. And then we're going to experience a meal together, whatever that may be, unwrapping a little bit different, but still kind of keeping some structure in what we do for a holiday, but it's going to unwrap differently. It's really going to be are we all playing games? No. Okay, you don't want to play games this time, that's fine. Do you want to, bring your own food this time, or do you want to be a part of the food? Now that they're older, it's a lot of asking and communication, and just seeing if this is okay this time. And I've really noticed, like, even just in their journey of things that may be going on in their world outside of the holiday, they all now are old enough and they have jobs and, are taking care of things. It might be too stressful to experience it this way. Hey, do you want to just meet mom for dinner? And that's okay. And it might just be us connecting.
Wow.
Well, it's holiday creation instead of holiday execution.
Exactly.
And that attitude, instead of a burden, becomes, I wonder what this year has in store.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts you have for our audience for this holiday season that you'd like to share?
I think just enjoy being present. It's not about the presents, and we think that it's all about the gifts and the presents. It's about being present. These moments will go so fast, and I wish I could rewind time and go back to when they were little and go back and redo things and kind of tweak a little bit. But the biggest piece I miss is capturing those moments, even if it's the mess all over the kitchen. Capture that, take a photo of it, laugh about it later. We were always waiting to capture the perfect moment, and enjoy the imperfection. Laugh about the things that don't go right. Laugh about the goofy stuff, and enjoy being present in your kids' lives.
That's an awesome theme. It's not about the presents, it's about being present.
Yep.
Thank you, Kelly, for being here. That was wonderful. Nathan, any final thoughts for the holiday season to our audience?
Enjoy it. Enjoy it, enjoy it, enjoy it. I think I've got a renewed sense of looking for what the season has to bring instead of thinking about all the things that have to get done. And it makes me excited to approach the unknown. So I appreciate your insights, Kelly. I appreciate your journey. I kind of have this newfound sense to journal a little bit more again and just be mindful of the journey, right? Instead of just letting it pass by. And I think that's the message I'm taking away. It's not getting to the day, it's the process going through it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for bringing this wonderful energy, thoughts, and the holiday cheer to our audience. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and everybody have a wonderful holiday season, whatever it may look like.
Yep. Enjoy the holiday. Everybody have a great holiday season. We're excited that you were able to listen to us. Thank you for making us part of your day. Please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation that inspires connection. We just want to give a great holiday shout out to Jesse Palmer for all of his wonderful back-end work as our producer, and also our wonderful marketing director, Dallin Davis, for all the great holiday work that she does. Until next time, enjoy the holiday season, and let's go do some good.